Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Boston Children's Teaching Kitchen at Boston Children's Needham. I'm Nolan Reese. I'm the Culinary Nutrition Manager, and we are excited to be showing off our space today. We're going to be doing a little bit of a demonstration, showing you around our teaching kitchen, talking about some really fun ingredients. We are doing this for National Nutrition Month, the theme of which is Discover the Power of Nutrition. So we're going to be talking about things that we would refer to as superfoods. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Maria Cherry, who's going to get us started.
Hi, everybody. I'm Maria. I am our culinary dietitian, so I'll be running a lot of the classes that we have in here in the teaching kitchen. We are going to be working through a couple of recipes today focused on what exactly is a superfood or a power food, right? So a lot of the times we talk about this topic in media and we're thinking of things maybe like quinoa or acai and these kind of big fancy foods that have a lot of media attention, right? But what we really wanted to highlight in the kitchen today is that there's a lot of power foods or foods that give us a lot of different benefits that we can find very easily at the grocery store for a low cost. So some of the ones that we're going to be highlighting today are sweet potato and black beans with our sweet potato and black bean quesadillas, as well as we're going to be making a chickpea cookie dough later on in the video as well. So really excited to get started. We're going to go ahead and start with this with a wider pan. You can use either a frying pan or a deep set saucepan like this one. And I'm going to set it to about medium heat just to get started. So what I've already done for prep for this recipe and what you can do at home is I have these baked sweet potatoes. So I baked them at 400 for about 25 minutes. I turned them over halfway through. They're just tossed in a little bit of salt, smoked paprika, and garlic powder. So that just gives it a little bit of flavor before we even get it into the dish. Now, this would be great if you already have some pre-cooked sweet potatoes from a few nights ago that you had roasted up, or you could do these in an air fryer or even boil them down if you have it that way. I think you can mash it into the to the quesadillas, and that would also work great. The reason that we're trying to incorporate sweet potatoes into our meal today is because it is packed with tons of different nutrients, especially our different vitamins. So our vitamin A, C, as well as potassium. So helps with our eyes, helps with our bones, helps with making sure we're getting our immune system nice and going. And the other great benefit to having our fiber is it's going to help with our gut health, helping us go to the bathroom. So this is a great thing that we can kind of keep around in the house and, bulk up on to make a lot of fun recipes with. So I have my heat started. I'm going to do about a tablespoon of olive oil just in there, letting that heat up. And what I have prepped for you is already about half of a white onion diced up, as well as a whole green pepper. And so we're going to start off with adding our onion and our green pepper just to that medium heat with our tablespoon of olive oil. So we're going to let this cook down a little bit and start to mix in. This is going to be the base for our black bean and corn mixture. That's going to go alongside of our sweet potatoes inside of the quesadilla. So it's kind of a multi-step recipe. If you wanted to, you could bake the sweet potatoes, and then if you're meal prepping, I'd recommend making this kind of the black bean and corn separate and having that as two different things that you keep in the fridge. And then you can have your tortillas and make them fresh right before you are about to have lunch or dinner. So this is great to kind of keep on hand. The recipe itself is a little spicy when you eat it with, we're going to be making a chipotle sauce later on. So if you want to cut back on some of the seasonings, we're just going to be using like a taco seasoning that you can buy at the store, or you could make yourself. You can do that, or you could even decrease the amount of seasonings in the sweet potato, just do some salt and pepper if we're trying to be a little bit more on the kid-friendly side, if they're a little spice averse, right? So these are going to be sweating down for just a few more minutes. What we're looking for is the onions to be translucent. So that basically means that you can start to see through them. So that takes a few minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and add our garlic into this once that's ready. And that's just one garlic clove that's minced up. So I have everything prepped with me, but if you're following along, you know, you can either kind of cut things up and do as you go. One of my favorite things with garlic is you can also kind of have it pre-minced and kept in the fridge. So you can use what I call jarlic, which is just jarred garlic. Or you could buy freezer packs where they come in these little pre-done 1 teaspoon packs, and you can keep it in your freezer and you can just whip it out when you're ready. So you don't even have to do any prep work. Or if you're, you know, old school like me, you just want to mince it as it goes. Some of the benefits of kind of cooking with garlic alongside things like ginger are they have some great anti-inflammatory properties that are going to help fight, you know, anything that comes up within our bodies. And they're great to kind of keep in the fridge, keep in the cabinet for when you need them. And the same kind of applies to our spices or our ground ginger or ground garlic too. So that's an even better shelf-stable version. If you don't have access, you can feel free to just use a little bit of the ground garlic powder. Sorry, garlic powder. Okay, so we're getting to a translucency. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. Starting to be able to see through it. So I got my garlic ready to be added. Garlic doesn't take that long to kind of incorporate into a recipe. Really only needs 30 seconds to a minute. It's very easy to burn in oil. So you're really only looking for it to kind of incorporate, especially when it's in this minced form.
This is the part where if you're watching along, I would tell you, I wish that you could smell what was happening in the kitchen. It's like, what's the formula for making it seem like you know how to be a good cook? You just start sauteing some onions and garlic. It smells amazing in here.
Basically, the base of most recipes are really onion and garlic if you want to make them taste good. And that's the beauty of it. It's nice and simple. Get those anti-inflammatory properties just by adding in that garlic. And we also have some bell pepper in here, which is super high in vitamin C. So that's great for our immune system. Bell pepper is actually higher in vitamin C than oranges. So that's a great way to kind of keep yourself from getting sick this winter. So we have our garlic incorporated. So I'm getting ready to add in our main ingredients, which are our black beans. So this is 1 can of black beans strained and rinsed off. Whenever we're working with canned beans, we always want to be rinsing them off just because there's sometimes some sodium in that liquid. And also it kind of messes with the texture a little bit. It's a little bit funny. So rinsing it off makes sure it's kind of just the bean itself. If you wanted to make beans in a bag, you could also do it that way. But the canned beans I find great to kind of just keep in the shelf. You know, they're still affordable, easy to work with. So we're just going to add in our canned beans. And then I also use some canned corn that's also rinsed off and strained. And feel free to use frozen corn if you wanted to for this recipe too, or fresh corn if it's the summer. This would be a great kind of like summer lunch with a little bit of fresh corn in there. And you can also feel free to use whatever vegetables you want in this mixture. If you have a little bit of leftover tomato, that could even be great. And that would probably break down, make it a little bit more of a sauce. But some of the benefits of using this combination of corn and black beans is it's going to provide us with a lot of that fiber that we were talking about. So it's going to help us go to the bathroom, going to help keep us full for longer is a really important aspect of fiber that we're focusing on. And especially in black beans, which are, you know, also a protein source, and this is a vegetarian recipe, it's going to help keep us full because of the fiber and because of the protein. So that's really great. great for us to be focusing on. So I've just incorporated this, and now I'm going to go ahead and add in our taco seasoning. So like I said, this is just a store-bought taco seasoning. It's about a tablespoon. We actually tested this recipe before with a homemade taco blend, which is really easy to kind of find online, and primarily more of a chili powder and cumin mixture. So feel free to play around with the spices too. You could use just one or two things in here if you wanted to just use some paprika, chili powder. You don't have to have taco mix. This I figured was just the easiest for families that might already have it at home. So we're just incorporating this right in here. And then this is going to cook down for about 10 minutes. So while this kind of cooks down, we're going to work on our chipotle crema sauce.
It's very, very simple to make, just 4 simple ingredients, and I'll walk you through each of those steps. So what I'm going to do to my immersion blender cup is I'm going to add the juice of 1 lime, and just add that right in. And then I'm using 2 chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. It's the ones that come in the can. This is going to add some really nice heat and flavor to the sauce. So I'm just going to go ahead and add those in. And then sort of the base of this sauce is going to be Greek yogurt. What's nice about Greek yogurt, obviously being yogurt, it's got those live and active cultures in there. That's great for our gut health. It's also going to be higher in protein and lower in fat compared to something like a sour cream or mayonnaise or anything along those lines. So we would say that Greek yogurt falls into that category, being a superfood, right? Being nutrient dense and having some extra benefits added to it, right? It's got calcium, being a dairy food, and as I mentioned, it's higher in protein and lower in fat. And I'm also just going to add just a pinch of salt to this, just to give it a little bit of flavor as well. So into my immersion blender cup, I'm going to add all of these ingredients, and I'm just going to sort of blend that together. So you can see, if you can still hear me and you haven't edited this out, you can see how it's just sort of coming together. My immersion blender does a really good job of sort of combining all those ingredients. But again, you can sort of use whatever you like. Sort of shake off the excess here. Pop the end of this off. And there we go. We've got our crema. It's going to be all ready to go once Maria finishes up making her quesadillas. I'm going to pass it back over to her.
So one thing I want to note, this is still kind of cooking down. If you, like I was saying, you don't really like a lot of spice in your food, you could probably, instead of putting those chipotles in there, one of the best hacks I kind of say is mix up that Greek yogurt with that lime and then a little bit of salt, and you can even add a little bit of pepper, and that will bring it down to more of a crema consistency. So for those of you who don't really want to have something that's a little too smoky or spicy, that's a great alternative, as well as just, pairing it with even just regular Greek yogurt. You don't even have to season it. Or, you can do your sour cream or something like that too, if you're just adding a little bit. And that's your fave, right? Because what really matters when we're talking about nutrition this month is that all foods can fit in our diet, right? But we do want to highlight some of these foods that can be really beneficial for our bodies. That's the most important thing to be talking about. So I'm very excited to kind of share these recipes with you that are very packed with, a lot of different fiber, a lot of different nutrients, things like that, vitamins and minerals that are easy for us to kind of get from our kitchen to our table, which is what matters most, right? So this is pretty much almost there. Cook down a little bit faster. I had this on, by the way, medium-low heat, just because it might start to burn depending on which taco seasoning that you use. This one I think has a little bit of cornstarch in it, so it cooks a little bit faster because there's some starch molecules that can burn off, versus if you were just using regular seasoning or if there was a lot of liquid in your bean corn mixture still. So it kind of depends on if you were using fresh, frozen, canned as well. So this is pretty much done. You can see it's starting to stick to the pan a little bit. And we can kind of get this going to prepare our quesadillas. So we are going to be using whole wheat tortillas for this recipe. This is a great way to incorporate some of our whole grains that Nolan's going to be talking about a little bit more with oats. But when we switch to make half of our grains whole grains, we are getting some extra benefits like protein, fiber, some B vitamins in there. So this is a great way to kind of sneak some in without thinking about it too much. So I'm going to go ahead and set this pan to about medium low, just to make sure it doesn't burn too much, but that we have it ready. You can feel free to use a little bit of olive oil from a bottle or use a spray just to kind of get something going on the pan. I'm going to put our whole wheat tortilla down so that we can kind of get it ready before we add our ingredients on top. So I'm going to layer in our sweet potato as well as our corn mixture only after I put a little bit of cheese underneath. So I've tried this recipe where you put all the filling down first. What's going to happen though is when you make the quesadilla, there's going to be kind of a layer of separation. So you want to make sure you have cheese on both sides of the filling, and that applies if you were adding a little bit of chicken in here or anything else too. So I'm doing about 1/4 cup of cheese. I'm just eyeing it though. So if you're using a bigger tortilla, like those kind of big family burrito style ones, then you're going to need more cheese and more filling to cover them. This is more of a typical size. So I just want to make sure I'm getting enough cheese to cover kind of the edges of our quesadilla. You don't want those little pockets of like no cheese. Those are always a little bit sad, right? And then I'm going to add in some of our black bean and our corn mixture. So I think I wrote the recipe kind of as like divided up into 4s, but I think it kind of depends on the tortilla that you're using. You might want to do more or less. If you're someone that prefers a little bit more cheese and you want it to be on the kind of softer side, you can feel free to do a little bit less filling and then kind of make them thinner. Or if you want it to be more of a filling packed lunch, you can add more filling and kind of keep the cheese the same. We've had it both ways. It's delicious both ways. Definitely no negatives to doing it like that. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of this kind of sweet potato throughout. See, the cheese is starting to melt a little bit underneath the black bean and corn mixture. And hopefully I can flip this successfully on camera without embarrassing myself. But you could also do this if you're wanting to kind of just use one tortilla. You could do them into like a half moon size too. I think that'd work probably even easier than the way that we have it, but this is just the way to go. So I'm pouring a little bit more cheese on top, making sure we're getting that extra calcium in here, which is great for our bones. Awesome. And you can use low-fat cheese if you want. I think I just use regular cheddar though, for the sake of this recipe. Okay, and then we're just going to top it with our other tortilla. I got my spatula ready. So by this point, underneath it should start to be browning up, and I can see it get in there. So the cheese is starting to melt on the sides. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit just to get us going. And I like mine a little bit brown and crispy all over. So I'm going to get ready. Flip. See, it's always tucks on the sides.
I would say it's very professional.
Very professional flip.
Yes, very professional flip.
Thank you, Nolan. I'm trying my best here. Sometimes you get a flop, and that's okay. It's still going to taste good. So once that kind of cooks on the other side, we'll be ready to cut it up and serve it with our chipotle crema. So I'm going to tee up Nolan to start off our chickpea cookie dough recipe. And then I'll plate this up so that we have something to look at once it's done.
Back over to my side of the kitchen. I've got my chipotle crema that I made all ready to go for Maria when she's ready to serve. So we wanted to feature a nice sweet treat as part of our demonstration as well, and showcase some other superfoods as part of that. So we're actually going to make an edible cookie dough, which I am very, very excited about. We've played with this recipe, and it is delicious. So what we are going to do is, again, very similar to the crema that we just made. We're going to add a bunch of ingredients into a blender, and we're going to blend it up. It's going to be delicious. So the first thing that we're going to do is utilize canned chickpeas. These are great because not only are they chock full of fiber, they are, being in a legume family, they are a great source of protein. So they sort of pack that 1-2 punch that we're talking about with superfoods. So they can be a great substitute for those who are on a vegetarian or vegan diet to try and get some extra protein into their diet. And they make a great substitute in this recipe. So we're making this edible cookie dough. We're trying to avoid raw flour and raw eggs, those kinds of foods that can get you sick if you were to, to eat cookie dough, say, say you're making it home and you're trying to lick the spoon when you're mixing all those things up. As delicious as it is, you're not supposed to do that, right? So we want to make a version that is safe to eat. So we've got our chickpeas. We're also going to be using old-fashioned rolled oats. And what's great about oats is that they're a whole grain, right? As Maria was mentioning with some stuff about whole grains, they've got all parts of the grain still intact. So when we think about whole grains, we've got 3 components to the grain itself. We've got the bran, which is that sort of brown outer core to the grain. We've got the germ, which is where a lot of the healthy fats reside in the grain. And then we've got that kind of starchier interior, which is what's left after you process a grain and sort of get rid of that bran and the germ. Being an oat, being a whole grain oat, it's got all of those components together. So we get the benefit of the added fiber from the bran. We get the benefit of the added B vitamins that are also in the bran, and the healthy fats that are in the germ. So we're going to go ahead and add that in here as well. And then we've got some peanut butter. Nut butters can be a great source of healthy fats as well. There is some added protein in there too. We try and pick natural peanut butters for the teaching kitchen as much as possible, just to avoid any of the sort of extra sugar and oils that get added into some nut butters. And we're using peanut butter here today. Of course, if you have an allergy, you'd want to avoid that. You can really use anything that you like: sun butter, wow butter, almond butter, anything that sort of works for you. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop this out of my bowl, get it into the blender. Right. And then we've got some pure maple syrup. That's just going to give it some flavor and some sweetness. I'm going to add that right in here. I've got about a 1/4 cup worth of that adding into here as well. We're just adding a pinch of salt. And then we're going to add, to give it a little bit of flavor, give it that flavor that's reminiscent of homemade cookies. We're just going to add a little bit of vanilla. I'm going for about 1/8 teaspoon. This bottle is just about empty, so I'm just kind of dropping a little bit in, using it up. And then I'm going to go ahead and pulse this on the blender. You're going to want to pulse it in something like 15 to 30-second intervals to really get it nice and smooth. And you're going to push down with the spatula in between pulses. So you can see once I've pulsed it for a few seconds, there's some bits that are just sort of stuck to the sides of the blender. I'm just going in with a rubber spatula and pushing those down because we want to incorporate all of those ingredients together. We want it to be a nice smooth consistency. So I'm just pushing those ingredients down, and then we're going to go ahead and keep pulsing. All right, so I'm back over here in frame in the center here. And now that my cookie dough has processed, it took about 5 rounds of 20 to 30 seconds to get it to a nice smooth consistency. Let me point it at the camera. You can see in there that it's nice and homogeneous. There's maybe a couple small little bits of oats that haven't quite processed all the way through. But the nice part is that everything is completely safe to eat raw, so it's going to be delicious. So the last thing I'm going to do is, now that I'm all blended up, is I'm going to add our chocolate chips. And we're using mini chocolate chips just to make sure that when we were testing, we wanted to up the ratio of chocolate for each bite.
Of course you have to.
Yes, so we wanted to do that. So I'm just going to sort of give this a nice mix. And I'm doing it right in the food processor to cut down on the number of dishes. That's always a good thing too. And we're doing it without the blade so that the chocolate chips stay whole, so they don't crunch up. Great. And as we wrap up here, you can see that Maria has done such a lovely job plating up our quesadillas. And they look delicious, by the way. I'm just going to go ahead and use a scoop here.
Ooh, it looks way better with the mini chocolate chips.
It does look way better.
With the big chocolate chips. Now you got the perfect ratio.
We're just going to do some nice healthy scoops of this cookie dough. We would probably recommend a slightly smaller scoop than the one that we have here. But we're gonna treat ourselves here in the teaching kitchen today.
Which, by the way, you can keep this in the fridge in the ball forms if you wanted to roll out some balls, and you could even put a little bit of drizzle of chocolate on them. You could treat it like a chocolate hummus almost, and dip it with some crackers. There's a lot of versatility in that, but I do think it tastes a little bit better once it's in the fridge than at room temperature. So yeah. I hope you guys try out these recipes that we made for you today. Thank you so much for coming. Anything to promote for the kitchen, Nolan?
Yeah, so we are officially open here at Boston Children's Needham. Our first classes are targeting patients that have celiac disease. So we're offering a cooking series called Cooking with Confidence that Maria has been working very hard on. And we are preparing that and doing some patient classes there. We're also going to be working with some community members to put on some classes that are open and available to the public, as well as working with employee wellness to start thinking about how can we do some employee wellness events in this space, both virtually and in person. So we're very excited to be part of the Boston Children's community, and we hope you enjoyed our demo today.
Yeah, and you can reach us at the Teaching Kitchen email.
Yes, so that's just teachingkitchen@childrens.harvard.edu. It goes to both Maria and I, so we'll be able to stay in touch.